All right. All right. So let's hit part number two. Okay. So again, huge trigger warning on this because this is where it's going to get really dicey. So at that point, when you know that the baby is gone, you just need to get the body out. Because I knew at this point her chance of survival was going to be low. Um, the chance of going septic is at this point like, yeah. So you do what you need to do. So I'm going to try to be delicate with talking about this, but I'm going to also try to be just really, really real and really raw with you. So at this point, I'm pulling, I'm pulling, I'm pulling. So, and of course, it's not an easy presentation. I have just a head and neck. I knew the baby, I knew the lamb was gone. So at this point, I'm still kind of treating it as though it's just a normal case. So you need to get the position right still to get that lamb out. So I go in with my hands and I'm trying to feel for a shoulder, to find a leg, to try to get that out because even one leg you can deliver with just one leg and a head. But here's what to expect if this happens to you. If you're dealing with something and decomposition has started and decay, it's not unusual that you're going to have sloughing off of the fur or hair. So don't be alarmed if you see that. Um, there's going to be an odor and it's going to be bad. And it's one of those smells that you're never ever going to forget. It's going to stick with you forever, unfortunately. Um, so yeah, so I'm trying to pull. I finally was able to get down to like a shoulder and a leg to pull. Um, you can also expect at this point that everything that's inside is very, very fragile. So you're pulling as hard as you can. Do not be alarmed if things start to come apart. I'm trying to be very tender with this wording. That was the point for me that I don't have words for that part when things are starting to literally come apart in your hands. And that was the part I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to do this safely by myself. And this is the part where it's like you have to almost turn the emotional part of your brain off and turn on the business financial part of your brain off. Because at this point, for me, I knew there's no coming back from this, there's no saving this. I had already decided that she was going to be cold for my program. I had already decided that she was of a certain maternal age, that she was never going to be rebred. I was not going to sell her to somebody else because I didn't want anyone else breeding her. She's not a breeding candidate. I didn't want her to go to somebody that would do that to her. And I don't run like a retirement home here. And I know that's very hard for a lot of people to digest, but this is a business. This is part of my job. And I'm not here to just let, 20, 50, 75 sheep, goats, and everything else retire here and then feed them the rest of their lives. I know that sounds terrible and that's hard for some people to understand. That's okay. So anyway, at that point, I knew things were coming apart in my hands. I was no longer going to be able to safely do this. I knew from the smell and sight of things that she was going to be septic very quickly. There was no saving her. If she was young and if she was in good condition, that would have been very, very different. Then I would have taken a very different turn and more aggressive approach on things. But at that point, I knew that the safest and most humane thing to do was to have her euthanized, um, to dispatch her at that point, because there was no way that even if I wanted to go with my original plan, which was to just treat aggressively any infection and keep her going until that baby was weaned and then cull her from the herd. That I knew at that point there was no way that we were going to do that. We were so far past that I don't care how many antibiotics I flushed into this poor girl. There was no way. There was no way. She was uncomfortable. Obviously, she was a very sick girl. She did not feel well. I would imagine. And so that was the best thing, the most humane and the smartest thing for me to do at that point was to make the decision to have her dispatched. Um, Pull the baby, make it a bottle baby. And yeah, before I could make the arrangements to have her dispatched, she passed on her own, which is kind of better that way. I feel like it kind of takes that decision away from you, even though I had already made that decision. So kind of a horrible end to the story, aside from the fact that at least she made two beautiful babies this season, which is a blessing and pretty awesome. So a little boy and a little girl out of her. We'll keep the little girl. She'll get rolled back into our breeding herd and keep that part of her legacy alive and going. She was a fantastic ewe. Wonderful, gorgeous, deep-bodied, big girl. Made beautiful babies, great milk production, all the things that you want in your breeding lines. And as far as the ram lamb goes, he will either be sold or he will go to my kids for a 4-H project. Not sure yet. We'll see how but he's doing well. He's doing well. So yeah, as it was happening and right after, I was kind of a mess. There were a lot of tears. I was kind of a mess for a while. That's okay. That's all normal. I always say that. When I get to the point that something like this happens and it doesn't bother me, or if I'm like, I don't really care, whatever, I'll just dispatch it. It's fine. I don't care. And it doesn't bother me at all, then that's my time to know it's time to get out. Um, Having feeling and having emotions and feeling guilt and responsibility and sadness and all that stuff is normal and it's good and it's okay. But when you start to just stop caring, that's when it's time to get out. Um, and I've been doing this. I've been in livestock now in some capacity for 25 years, longer, 30 years, longer than 30 years, 30 some years, long time. And it still bothers me when stuff goes sideways. And it still is amazing to me when things go really good. It's still a miracle to me every time there's something beautiful that happens. So looking back, what could I have done differently? I guess I could have physically went in after baby number 2, but I think that baby was so far down in the canal yet, I don't think that I could have palpated it. All the classic things that you watch for, she did not present with. So sometimes you just can't catch everything every time. Sometimes there's things that you're going to miss, or things that you just would have never or couldn't have seen anyway. And that's you have to give yourself some grace. I need to work on that with myself as well. But that's my story. Again, it doesn't matter how many years you're doing this stuff can still happen and will happen eventually. Something like this will happen to you if you do it long enough and you do it enough. So but yeah, I've got a couple of babies out of her that are absolutely gorgeous and doing really well, and I'll do updates on them. And this was a really long video, but I had a lot to say and a lot to talk about. So thanks if you watched both parts of this. Thank you very much. And I'll come back with another video for you guys soon. Thanks again, guys.